Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's repaint is inspired by fall, and that is for a couple of reasons. One, I'm basic and I love me some fall. Like, I love me some fall. I really do. And also, we're moving back to the States in literally 2 days, and I haven't experienced fall in 2 years, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to wear like sweaters and to drink coffee and walk around and see like leaves. Listen, I'm excited. Y'all take your leaves for granted. There's no leaves in Kuwait, okay? I also picked up this like beautiful auburn orangey yarn a while ago that I've been waiting so long to use, and I'm finally using it. And for this project, I am using a Reboot Raven Queen Ever After High head. So they rebooted the Ever After High dolls, like they rebooted the Monster High dolls. And they gave them like completely different like face sculpts and everything, and their heads are significantly smaller than the original Ever After High dolls. Her body isn't from the reboot though, that's just an older Raven Queen doll body that I had. The reboot dolls, I don't know, I don't think there was many releases of Raven that were articulated. And she has a Madeline hat her hand, because that was what was in the stock box available for her. I also kind of finagled her head back together because when I originally put her head on this body, the neck peg snapped. So I put it back together and I used an elastic band, which I don't recommend because it makes it creepily articulated. And she has a big gaping hole in the back of her head because I had to cut her head open when she originally got the neck peg stuck in her head. So she got some issues. It's okay, we're gonna fix her up, she's gonna be good as new. So the first thing I do is I cut off all her hair, and then I put her head in some hot water for like a minute or two. Once she's done soaking, I just rip her head off. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately, the neck peg device that I finagled earlier, it ended up coming off when I was pulling her head off, which it doesn't really suck actually, because I end up making the construction of it better, so we're gonna do that later. I did, however, have to fish the neck peg device out of her head, which was disgusting. It was gross. After all of that, I took a screwdriver and I scraped around the inside of her head to get all the glue plugs out. And here's the glue nastiness aftermath. To take the paint off her face, we use an extra strength nail polish remover. Her little face is so cute. Literally her little face, because it's so much smaller than the original Ever After High dolls. It's like so much more proportionate. So as I mentioned earlier, she has a giant gaping hole in the back of her head, so we need to fix that. So I sew it together. I feel like with sewing, if you have pliers, it's significantly easier, because if you don't, like, it sucks. It's just really hard to stab the head with the needle over and over again, but pliers make it so much easier. If you guys are going to be rerooting, I think sewing is a must, but if you're just going to make hair wefts, just glue that stuff back together. If you glue it back together when you're rerooting, the pressure from rerooting always just makes it break back open. Now we're going to be using my pretty auburn yarn that I've been waiting months to use. So I paint her head a brownish red color with acrylic paint. And then we must prep the yarn. So to prep the yarn, I have 100% acrylic yarn that I'm going to be tying to this black thing that I still do not know what it is, and everyone tells me what they think it is, and it's not what it is. People keep telling me it's brass knuckles. It's not brass knuckles, guys. It's like gigantic, and it's plastic. So if anybody knows what this is, let me know. It's not brass knuckles, I swear. Anyway, so I cut the yarn and I tie it to this black thing, and then I brush it out with a cat brush, and I do not straighten it because I wanted her hair to be kind of wavy, like natural waviness, you know, that hair has. That is what I'm trying to accomplish. when I reroute with yarn, I take a little teeny tiny bit, like that much, and I only hook onto my reroute tool the very top of the yarn because I'm trying to get the most length out of the yarn that I can. So we're not bending it in half like we do with nylon hair. We are just taking a little, like the top of it, and then we are stabbing that into the head. And here she is. She looks like the lady from Brave, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make Marilda or whatever her name is. To have that hair all stay into place, I take my Fabri-Tac glue and I just squeeze it into the neck hole. Alright, so let's talk about the nightmare that this doll's face up was. So, I did this doll's face 3 times. This is the second attempt. I'm going to show you guys all of the attempts. Well, not like me repainting all of the attempts because we'd be here all day. But the first time, the second time, like pictures of it. Pictures of the face, what it looked like when I was done. And you guys will see the third face up, which is the face up that I ended up keeping and I ended up liking. Partially because I liked it and also because I was running out of MSC. I was like, use like a whole can on this freaking doll. I sprayed my doll 3 times with Mr. Super Clear, wearing a respirator mask, and then I start working, and whew, it was not a, the beginning of this doll was pretty rough because I accidentally flung my pastels across the room, and a lot of them ended up on her face, and I tried to erase the pastels off her face, but they were not coming off, and then I started sketching out her eye, and I didn't like it, so I tried to erase it, and it just would not come off because this red is very pigmented, and I am actually very heavy-handed, if you guys didn't know. So I ended up liking it though. Once we figured out our eye shape, I ended up liking it. I've mentioned in past videos that I've been really into making my doll's skin look like skin lately. So I like it to be like a little blotchy, maybe not the most blended. And I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but that's mine. So to achieve that look, I've been using lots of tones of pinks, browns, purples, reds, just kind of all around the face. To achieve a look of depth to my doll's skin, I add veins around the eyes and the forehead and the brow bone underneath the eyes, and I also add tones of blue to the face, and I feel like that just makes it look like the doll has multiple layers to it, or multiple layers to her skin, I mean. Since she's a redhead, I wanted her to have freckles, and I achieved this by adding dots around the face with the colored pencil and also splattering her face with a wet colored pencil. I add highlights with my white pan pastel around the eyes, like the brow bone, the under eyes, the upper lips, the nostrils, the chin. If you guys are going to get any of the pan pastels, they're fantastic, by the way. I've heard like tons of people talk about them. I don't think you need a ton of them, but if you're going to get any of them, I recommend getting lighter colors for them because I find it difficult in my like mungyo hand-rolled pastels. The lighter colors don't show up quite as well, but the pan pastels, like every single color shows up really well, and that includes the lighter colors. In my past 2 attempts at this doll, I gave her yellow eyes and it just wasn't working out. So for this attempt, I chose to give her green eyes. With a white watercolor pencil, I begin adding the more harsh and final highlights around her face. Taking a Q-tip in black pastel, I dot the iris onto her eyes. With my previous 2 attempts at this doll, I feel like I made her lower lash line too harsh. So instead of going in with a black for the lower lashes, I went in with a dark brown watercolor pencil. I've been really enjoying adding metallic paint to the black of the pupil, so for this doll I added a little bit of green metallic paint on top of the black of the pupil. I also added a little bit of yellow to the bottom part of her eye to brighten up the green. For the catch lights, I do my kind of standard 3 sort of dot shapes at the very top of the eye. I do this by wetting a white watercolor brush. And yeah, I've just been really liking this shape for the whites, like the highlights on the eyes. It works for me. And she's finally finished, or at least her face is. I'm gonna show you guys the 2 other face ups I did for this doll, and I feel like this one is definitely an upgrade. Using some Vallejo gloss varnish, I put some gloss on her lips. I also add some to her eyes, but that's later after I'm done taking photos. Now to finally fix this poor sad lady's neck peg. So I cut the elastic off because it just wasn't working out for me, and I replaced it with wire instead. I cut the wire and then I looped it into this neck hole thing. I just like looped it in and then I pulled it up with my pliers. And by I just looped it in, I mean it took me about an hour of fighting this wire through this neck hole to finally be able to like pull it up. But once I pulled it up, I twisted the 2 wires together, and then I pulled the twisted wires up, the line that I twisted together, up through this blue thing that I don't know what it is. I picked it up in the hardware section of my local store, but it worked perfectly as like a replacement neck peg. So I just pulled it up and then I twisted the wire around the blue thing, and this is a fantastic solution. I feel like if you can find these blue things at your local store, they work great for replacement neck pegs as well as wire to hold them in place. for a dress for this lady, I deconstructed a Madeline Hatter dress to get the pattern. I did not, however, take into account that Madeline Hatter is significantly shorter than Raven Queen, so this dress is so very small. It's just very short. I hem the top skirt piece and then I sew the 3 layers of the skirt together. The bottom skirt is actually Madeline Hatter's bottom skirt because recycling is great, right? I also hem the top of the front top as well as the top of the back part of the dress. I gather stitched the top of the skirt and I also sewed the front and back panels of the top together. Once I was done that, I sewed the top and the bottom of the skirt together, I sewed it up the sides, and I sewed on clasps. I decided she needed a cape for 2 reasons. 1, her dress is really short, and 2, it's very like fall-like, you know? So this is Cerise Hood's cape, and I am deconstructing it to get the pattern again. I hemmed the front and the back of the hood. To hem the curved part of the hood, I actually ended up having to cut slits into that part so that it would look more curved. After that, we gather stitch both sides of the hood. I also gather stitch the top and the bottom of the cape. Now into the gold part of the cape, yay! So I gather stitched the top. Then I sewed the gold part of the cape to the black part of the cape. I also sewed the hood part of the cape to the cape part of the cape, good side to good side, and then we're gonna be painting some stars. So I wanted her to have little stars on her cape. I thought it was kind of cute, and I'm using gold acrylic paint and copper acrylic paint. I'm just doing all sorts of designs for stars, so I'm not keeping it very consistent. It's all sorts of sizes and all sorts of designs. This is how she turned out, and I'm kind of obsessed. I want to make myself a little star cape. Now we can finally get on to the body. So I'm prepping the body by scraping off the seam lines and sanding down the doll's panties, and also just buffing down her body so the MSC and the pastels take to it better. And I also have to paint this freaking Madeline Hatter hand into a skin tone hand. So I first paint it white and then I let that dry, and then I go in with skin tone colored paint that I mixed. I also decided to paint her shoes and her hood chain thing while I was at it. You guys will see what the hood chain thing is in a second. But yeah, so I painted them black and then I dry brushed them with gold and copper paint. That's her hood chain thing, by the way. We finally get to blush her body now that she has normal colored hands. So I sprayed her body 3 times with Mr. Super Clear, and I went in with basically the same colors that I went in on her face. So pinks, browns, purples, and I gave her freckles. After all of that, her head was finally reunited with her body and her neck peg works. Yay! I had to sew her cape chain onto her cape, so that's what I did. Here's the final doll with all of her accessories, so her cape, dress, shoes, fishnets, and she's done! I really like her, and I'm so happy I like her because it was miserable beginning her face up. Like, I tried so many times, well 3 times, to make her look good. I'm finally happy with her though. Like, I like how her face turned out. I am excited to paint some more Ever After High reboot dolls and just Ever After High dolls in general. And next doll I do, I swear, is probably going to be a Monster Eye doll because I have not painted one in a minute. But yeah, this is my fall themed doll. I hope you guys like her. I took a couple photos with her, with my Enchantimals repaint, who is just kind of turning into a photo accessory for all of my doll repaints because she's so dang cute, but they both have red hair. Anyway guys, if you like this video, subscribe, it makes me happy, and I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Bye!